Is this okay? Good afternoon. Winter weather is back in the GTA today. Across the region this hour, we are getting yet another dose of snow.
Here's a live look downtown. Environment Canada has issued a special snowfall warning. The snow expected to fall throughout the day. CTV's Mike Walker is live in Scarborough with the very latest. Mike, what are the conditions like where you are?
Well, Nathan, we're near Victoria Park and Shepherd. It's nowhere near that snowstorm we experienced last week, but I would tell you, within the last hour, the snowfall has started to ramp up here, and it's expected to intensify this afternoon. Now, the city's salt trucks have been out long before the snow started falling. The snowfall warning covers Toronto, parts of Durham, York, and Peel regions. As much as 10 centimeters of snow is expected to fall, and this comes as many people in many areas are still digging out after last week's winter wall-up. The mayor has stated more than 8,700 tons of snow have been removed. Some people are not looking forward to another round of digging out. We were speaking with people who were out early trying to get their errands out of the way, and as well as a snowplow operator who clears commercial and residential properties. They tell us they have been working right around the clock nonstop.
It looks beautiful when I'm inside, but on the outside, it's hard.
Yeah. What I want to know is not these places, but like residentials. Where are we going to put it?
Well, it's not that bad. It's okay. Yeah. The bus is running on time. Everything is okay so far.
Too much because I'm not young anymore.
So it's not fun to dig out?
No, it's not too much. It's fun at all.
Now, the snowfall is expected to have an impact on the evening commute. Environment Canada warning that visibility could be poor and driving conditions hazardous, depending on where that snow accumulates. School buses across the GTA are running today, but delays are expected for the trip home this afternoon. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, we are under a snowfall warning this noon hour. This is a live look at young Dundas, people going about their day, but you can definitely see there is snow on the roads. And I can tell you from experience, it's a bit slippery out there this hour, and we are getting a measurable amount. Nothing like last week, but certainly enough to slow things down and potentially create some problems. Lindsay Morrison is outside this hour watching the snow fall, and she has all the details for us. Lindsay.
Yeah, Michelle, it's funny how it's all relative, isn't it? We keep saying this storm, not quite like what we experienced last week. No, it's not going to be as much snow, but yes, we are still going to have to shovel. And yes, this is likely to impact your travel plans through today. We're eyeing that afternoon drive. It wasn't too bad in the end for the morning commute as the snow was just getting started. But as you take a look at the satellite and radar here, you're going to notice that just about everyone in the GTA now included in some moderate snowfall that is falling. Could be heavy at times through the afternoon, widening things out to show you the scope of this Clipper system. Again, it's a different kind of weather system altogether compared to what we had last week, but this one has the potential to bring us 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. City of Toronto included in the snowfall warning. This warning does not include the west end of the GTA, but you can expect a snowfall accumulation there as well. That 10 to 15 centimeters of snow is more so for communities east of the GTA, but heads up as well for Durham region and York region also. As we take a look at the winds, another part of the weather story today, they're coming out of the south this afternoon. Not too gusty just yet. We do expect that they're going to strengthen a little bit as the day goes on. That southerly wind bumping up our temperature a little bit today. It's going to take until about the evening hours for us to reach our forecast daytime high. Temperatures are not bad though out here, and the wind chill not as much of a factor at this hour. It's going to be though as we make our way into the weekend. First though, here's today at a glance. The big headline for today is the snow, of course, but going forward into the weekend, we are going to be talking about perhaps our coldest cold snap here in the GTA in several years. Not only that, but maybe more snow for Sunday. All you need to know is coming up in your weather forecast. For now, Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Just ahead today is Bell Let's Talk Day, keeping the national conversation on mental health going. We'll speak with the chair of the initiative and hear how that conversation is changing. And we'll highlight some of the ways mental health care is making a difference. But first, police in York Region are investigating an overnight shooting.
It happened in Woodbridge in the area of Martin Grove and Andrew Park. CP24's Courtney Hales has been at this scene all morning. She joins us live from there. Tell us what's happening there this hour and the latest on this investigation.
Well, this is still a very active investigation, guys. I can tell you York Regional Police have the front of the property taped off. They've got cruisers out front. They're really all over this neighborhood. And this is because residents are on edge learning of this overnight shooting. 1:45 this morning, police were called here over reports of gunshots. They say when they arrived, they found the victim, a 22-year-old, and that man was actually standing out in the driveway when he was shot. He was rushed to hospital. We're hearing his injuries are serious but not life-threatening. People who live in this quiet residential area are on edge. They want to know what happened here and why.
Absolutely shocking. I mean, it's such a quiet street. I mean, there's lots of kids too with the school being here. This is unbelievable. I cannot get over it. I mean, you know, usually you see it on TV and you think, wow, it's too bad. But to be this close to home now, it's like right next door. It's horrible.
No, I didn't hear nothing. Nothing I heard. when I came in, I just saw these cars and was shocked. Shocked. What could I say?
Did you hear anything from the police? Are they talking to you about what happened?
I just heard it was like 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. But apparently I heard the person drove off in a Porsche SUV, I heard. So that's what I heard.
And that is what York Regional Police are saying this afternoon. The suspects pulled up to this street in a dark-colored Porsche SUV. They say one suspect, a man, got out. He was wearing a balaclava, opened fire at the victim outside of the home, and then took off. So this afternoon, we know police are busy looking for more information on that vehicle, the direction it went, also trying to figure out more information on the suspects. They believe at least 2 suspects are behind this shooting in Woodbridge. They also say the shooting is targeted. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Courtney. The new trade deal between Canada and China covers a wide range of sectors, but Premier Doug Ford is most concerned about a planned rule change on electric vehicle imports.
This morning at Queen's Park, Ford was joined by stakeholders in the auto industry who echoed his concerns around Ottawa loosening its 100% tariff on those Chinese cars.
As long as Canadians want to buy cars and trucks, we want to build them right here in Canada. Auto workers have been on the front lines of this trade war since last February, fighting to protect their jobs, their plants, and their communities. And that's why this China deal is a hard pill for them to swallow right now, because they've seen this movie before, where their jobs end up on the chopping block because of some trade negotiation.
Welcome. Premier Ford said the deal with China was asking Canadian auto workers to fight on unfair ground against a market giant and without any security.
Instead of importing vehicles, we should be making vehicles by Canadian workers, using Canadian steel, respecting Canadian specs and standards, leveraging Canada's supply chain. And if the Chinese are serious about making investments and creating auto jobs here in Canada, then show us proof. Canadian auto workers can't feed their families with hypothetical commitments about investments that might happen 5 years or a decade from now.
The Premier said he'd like to see Ottawa consult more with him and other key players going forward. He also called for an end to the federal electric vehicle mandate. Live next to University Avenue, where a rally for Iran is underway outside the U.S. consulate. CTV's Raheem Ladani is live there. And Raheem, it's not the first rally of its kind there. Again, demonstrators are calling for the U.S. to take action.
Hi, Nathan. Good afternoon. Yes, you're right. There was a rally here last week here along University Avenue. And again, a group of demonstrators have gathered. Now the crowd, I'd say, has grown well into the hundreds. Still significantly smaller than what it was last week, which the number crept into the thousands. But I do have to say that people are still coming, so the crowd will grow. They're standing directly across the U.S. consulate right now, and they're calling for the United States government and President Trump in particular to intervene and help them in their movement, in their demonstrations, in overthrowing the Islamic Islamic regime. I want to bring in Soraya. She lives in Canada. She has a lot of family who's still in Syria. Soraya, just give us an understanding in terms of who you have in Syria and in Iran and how they're doing right now.
I have a lot of family, my sisters, brothers, my nieces, nephews, and other relatives. All they are there, and I'm here for a long time, 32 years, and I'm fighting for Iran here and asking from United States, President Trump and Netanyahu to help my people. And there is a brutal, and in Iran, and they are killing my people there. No internet. No freedom, and people cannot come out properly, they cannot protest. They kill a lot of people, and we asking everybody to, act right now and help us, and helping us regarding to this situation in Iran we have.
Can I ask you, Soraya, the protests in Iran right now have quieted down for a couple of days because of the crackdown from the government, but all of you are still here in downtown Toronto. Why is it important for you to still be here to advocate for them as a voice?
Actually, they are so brave people of Iran. They are living in Iran. And it's my job here. Right now, police is protecting us. We are living in a safe and free country. Is that, time for us to do our job here, behalf of our people. And we are their voice of people of Iran. And please help us and don't be quiet. It's everybody's responsibility. And
thank you very much, Soraya. I just want to let the attention know. So everyone was on University Avenue right now, but just give me 1 second, please. We're live on television. As you can see, this group has now made their way onto University Avenue. So they have now taken over University northbound, and they're making their way towards southbound. This means that Toronto police will likely shut down the road. In fact, as I look to my left, I can see that University Avenue has been shut down from Queen Street on the south side. Not sure how far on the north side, but I will tell you that last week it was shut down all the way to College. So this crowd continues to grow. They're now making their way onto University Avenue, directly closer to the U.S. consulate. Last week they were here for several hours chanting for U.S. President Donald Trump to act. Now that is what's continuing right now. And as you heard Soraya say, they say while protests in Iran have quieted down for now, they want to be their voice. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. I'll send it back to you both in studio.
All right, thank you, Raheem. Well, today is Bell Let's Talk Day.
It's Canada's biggest national conversation about mental health. This is the 16th year for the annual event, promoting mental health awareness and conversation. This year's theme is taking a moment for mental health, urging people to make self-care a priority and to check in on others. Bell is giving $10 million towards Canadian mental health, bringing its total Bell Let's Talk investment to $194 million since 2010.
And joining us live in studio to talk about Bell Let's Talk Day is the chair of the initiative, Mary Deacon. Definitely you become a familiar face in Canadian households. 16 years is a long time, and boy, has this campaign grown, evolved, and changed and done a lot of good. Maybe you can take us back to the beginning and what was the catalyst for this in the first place?
So before I came to Bell, I worked in the area of mental health, and I used to talk about how wonderful it would be to find a Canadian corporation that would adopt mental health as its cause of choice. And Bell made that bold decision. I went to Bell, started with a blank piece of paper. I had no idea how the initiative would grow, but what I will say is it clearly was an indication that mental health was an issue whose time had come because it was embraced across the country and, in fact, around the world.
Mm-hmm. So, we've seen conversations happen over the years. How do you think that conversation has changed?
I just think it has grown to be there's more openness, there's a greater number of conversations, more people willing to seek help, more people actually seeking help. And, what that's doing is putting a strain on our already strained mental health care system But I feel that's a good thing because we need to do a better job in ensuring that everyone in the country can get the mental health support they need.
And I have to admit, back when this started, you didn't so much hear people say, I'm going to take a mental health day. And now that's something where I don't think there is the shame that there once was. But certainly this initiative is not just one day. The conversation has to continue. Maybe we can talk about at this stage where some of the gaps remain, but also where the big successes have been.
Well, I'll start with the gaps. I would say the gaps really are in community mental health, right? The organizations that are in communities across the country where people are more likely to be when they need to take their first step. So community grassroots organizations often don't get much funding from government. They put every penny they have into helping people each and every day. So there needs to be a greater emphasis on upstream, early health, mental health care in community.
Obviously, this initiative is just really taken off, and progress has been made. But is there a frontier that you want to see achieved, or a place you want to see it go?
Well, I have a vision of a Canada where everyone can get the mental health support they need. The frontier for me is better upstream, early intervention and prevention. Now, those sound like jargony words, but basically what that means is that the first sign of a problem, you are able to get health. Or as Howie Mandel says, treat your mental health like your dental health. Take preventative action so that you really don't end up in the dentist chair needing to have your tooth pulled. So it's more about the preventative and early intervention so that less people end up in serious help in emergency departments, ultimately helping them have better and happier lives.
Well, we certainly admire and appreciate all the hard work you've done over these years. Is there something you want to leave people with before we let you go? I know it's a busy day for you.
So the theme this year is Take a Moment for Mental Health. And, you know, what that means is there are obvious things that you might think about, like meditation or breathing exercises, but it's much more than that. Exercising, being out in nature, digital detoxing, expressing gratitude, spending time, shared activities with friends and families. These are simple and practical things we can do each and every day that will help and support mental health and well-being, especially in these times when there's so much uncertainty in the world.
Great advice. All right, Chair and founder of Bell Let's Talk, Mary Deacon, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. And Bell Let's Talk Day has special meaning this year for Caitlin Morrison.
Well, she's the sister of actor Matthew Perry, and she's helping to build a new addictions treatment center in honor of her brother. And CTV's Pauline Chan joins us live from downtown with more. And Pauline, you spoke with Caitlin this morning.
That's right, Nathan and Michelle. Matthew Perry, of course, was best known for his work with Friends. He drowned in 2023 after decades of battling mental health and addictions.
As an actor, Matthew Perry brought joy to so many. Now, with the work of his sister Caitlin Morrison, his legacy will be one of hope for those struggling with addiction.
The first time I ever noticed that he enjoyed, you know, imbibing was when I took a sip of what I thought was like an orange smoothie, and it was not just an orange smoothie, and I was like, whoa, there's something in this.
Last fall in Ottawa, where Matthew grew up, and which he was always so proud to call home, a groundbreaking ceremony was held for Matthew Perry House. It will offer up to 170 housing units, plus counseling, therapy, job training, and more.
His feeling was that he would go to a place and he would be there for a month or so, and he would start to feel good, and then he'd go back out into the world, and he felt isolated.
Matthew Perry House will support people who have completed initial addiction treatment but still need long-term support.
The world is so big and scary, and everything feels so huge right now. I know in people's lives things feel huge all the time, and giving yourself permission to just find a way to be okay, you know, find something that brings a smile to your face.
Now, Caitlin Morrison says Matthew Perry House Ottawa won't be completed for a couple of years. They also have plans to build centres in Toronto and other Canadian cities. On Bell Let's Talk Day, I'm Pauline Chan. Let's go back to Michelle.
Thank you, Pauline. Appreciate it. Well, one day after Prime Minister Mark Carney addressed delegates at the World Economic Forum this morning, the U.S. president did the same.
Canada was a focus of the president, who said this country only exists because of the U.S. CTV's Judy Trin was monitoring Trump's talk this morning and joins us live. Judy, let's start with Trump's comments on Canada. Now, he was responding to Mark Carney's speech. What else did he say?
That's right, Nathan. You know, when I was listening to Donald Trump speak, I realized just how precarious the situation Canada is in and the calibration that went into Mark Carney's speech yesterday. What he said yesterday was that he called on other middle powers to stand together. He said countries have to choose to go along, to get along, to hope that that would give them compliance and buy them safety. He says that no longer works, and that's something that Canada has learned. Nathan, Canada exports 80% of its goods to the U.S., and this is what Donald Trump was referring to when he made this comment.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
You know, that could be construed as a warning. I mentioned that we are in a precarious situation. The USMCA, or CUSMA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, will be reviewed starting in June. And so those trade negotiations are coming up for review, as well as the possibility of tariffs. And Nathan and Michelle, we know that Donald Trump has threatened tariffs over Premier Doug Ford's ad that he ran. So we're right now at that situation. We're waiting to see what kind of fallout there could be. The Prime Minister's office says that they will not be commenting on Donald Trump's speech today.
So Canada wasn't the only country Trump talked about during his more than hour-long remarks. What about Greenland? What do you have to say about that?
Nathan, in his hour and 12-minute speech, Donald Trump said that he wants to start negotiations to acquire Greenland immediately. He said he will not use military force to acquire the territory, but that he will use economic force. We know that he has threatened European nations who have defended Greenland's sovereignty, who have defended Denmark's sovereignty with tariffs. He has said that he will levy tariffs, 10% tariffs, beginning on February 1st against nations such as the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and the Netherlands. He also says that if an agreement is not achieved by June, those tariffs will go up to 25%. So Europe now is feeling the economic pressure that Canada has felt for more than a year. And Nathan and Michelle, what I can tell you is that some countries are preparing counter tariffs to retaliate, looking at their options. But at the same time, the U.S. is warning, do not take any retaliatory action so they can act. And we know that these bullying tactics, what they can be, and we know the impact of it well here in Canada.
Right, the tariff war seems to be heating up again. CTV's Judy Trin in Ottawa, thank you.
Pleasure.
In Montreal, a building fire forced the closure of a major bridge during the morning rush hour today. The Jacques-Cartier Bridge connects downtown Montreal to Longueuil. It was closed at 6 a.m. because of heavy smoke and the risk of the building collapsing and falling onto the bridge's pillars. Firefighters responded around 11:30 last night to the blaze at a vacant building on the Montreal side of the span. Crews were still on scene this morning.
Prince Harry testified today for the first time in his case against the publisher of the Daily Mail newspaper. The Duke disputed that reporters used legitimate sources to publish revealing details of his life. He said the tabloids continue to come after him and have made his wife's life an absolute misery. Harry and 6 other prominent figures, including Elton John and Elizabeth Hurley, alleged the publisher engaged in a systematic use of illegal information gathering for 2 decades. Associated Newspapers Limited has denied the allegations in the case at London's High Court.
The Northern Lights have been quite active recently, and there was another display of nature's wonder early today. A dazzling display was caught by an airport camera in western Greenland this morning. The sky was seen illuminated by green lights for at least an hour. The aurora borealis results from solar storms emitting high-speed charged particles colliding with gases in our Earth's atmosphere. The Northern Lights usually occur near the Arctic from around September to April. Lindsay.
Well, it is a snowy day today. No doubt the plows are going to be out and about, but you should plan at this point for some potential weather impacts to your afternoon drive. Here's a look at what we're expecting through the rest of the afternoon and into the early part of the evening. Before this snow tapers off, yes, we expect to pick up several centimeters of it. Here's the snowfall forecast. Looks like from here, an additional 2 to 3 centimeters of snow in parts of the GTA, but others are going to see upwards of 10 centimeters of snow. And then, of course, we have the snow squalls that continue to impact other areas. Not just that, but it is going to become cold again, especially this weekend. We'll talk about potential record cold after the break.
Well, not the huge amount of snow that we got last week, but still quite a bit of snow expected today.
Yes, it's nice that we've got relief from that extreme cold because yesterday was really rough, but now we have the trade-off, and that is measurable snow. Lindsay Morrison has been taking it all in outside, and it's coming down at a good clip, Lindsay.
It really is, Michelle and Nathan. I couldn't wait to get outside and play in the snow again. I'm sure everyone at home feels the exact same way. I know it's been quite a week of weather here in the GTA, more in the way of snow. I'm actually out here on a patio. This is an area that's been virtually untouched since the snowstorms last week. So perhaps you can see the heavy amounts of snow that remain on these tables and these chairs. Not the most inviting on a day like this, is it? Of course, we had a little bit of melting over the weekend, but the snow continues to pile up even now at this hour. The storm today different from last week's storm in so many ways, including the timing of it. But yes, we do have to be concerned about potential travel impacts through the rest of this afternoon and into the evening rush. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Here's what we're dealing with on the satellite and radar. Just about everyone in southern Ontario now seeing snow. We'll begin first, though, with a look at the weather alerts. So I talked about the snowfall warning that is in effect for the city of Toronto, areas like Vaughan, Markham, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, and continuing eastward from there. Also a snowfall warning in place closer to the shoreline of Lake Huron. Measurable snow expected in those communities with the passing of this Clipper system. We also still have snow squall watches and warnings in place. So that's mainly for communities to the east of Georgian Bay and around the Bruce Peninsula. It's another windy day, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Let's widen things out to show you that this Clipper is going to make its way out of southern Ontario a little later on this afternoon or into the early part of the evening. Behind this system, we're going to see the winds kick in once again. Lake effect snow squalls will be a story again for tomorrow. Not so much for us here in the GTA, but we are expecting to see some flurries. A little more measurable snow expected through this afternoon, and then once again, communities that are a little more susceptible to dealing with lake effect snow bands will continue to see that snow pile up into Thursday, into Friday, and perhaps into Saturday as well. We're not even going to talk about Sunday yet, although I will come back to that because it looks like more snow is on the way then. By 6 o'clock tonight, we expect that improvements will start to happen here around the GTA, snow tapering off in many areas. But again, it's going to be that kind of cycle over the next few days where we've got gusty winds triggering lake effect snow, and there's some more potent snow squall bands as we tap into some northwesterly winds Friday night. And you know what northwesterly winds mean? Colder air, and boy, oh boy, is it going to be cold as we make our way into the weekend. It's also been very windy the last several days. We're getting a little bit of a break from the stronger gusts right now, but they will be back as we make our way into tomorrow and into Friday as well. Temperature-wise, this is also a little bit of a break. Again, it's all relative, isn't it? Suddenly -5 degrees feeling like -10. Doesn't feel so bad out here compared to feeling into the -20s this time yesterday. Here's a look at what we are expecting through the night tonight. In fact, we're going to likely hit our daytime high into this evening. That's -1 degree. Overnight low about -5, feeling more like -13. Tomorrow, Temperature, daytime high, is expected to be somewhere near -5 degrees, so starting to cool down once again. But it's Friday that I want to draw your attention to, because that day is going to be cold. That night is going to be perhaps dangerously cold. So the core temperature, overnight low Friday and into Saturday morning, -22 degrees is what we're calling for right now. We haven't had a -20-degree temperature in almost 3 years. And then that forecast high on Saturday, -15 degrees. That could be our coldest daytime high that we've had in the city of Toronto for even longer than that. Also, now want to draw your attention to Sunday. Yet another weather headline. We're going to keep an eye on that day for more in the way of heavy snow. Again, we're out here on the patio, Nathan and Michelle. I will say, though, every season is barbecue season here in Canada, right? So maybe we'll dust this bad boy off and enjoy some lunch later on. What do you say?
Oh, why not? Yeah, you got to lean in. And boy, January is delivering the winter. Thank you, Lindsay.
Sure is. Thank you.
Now, our Jessica Smith is staying warm and dry this noon hour. She's at the Leslie Grove Gallery in the East End. What a lovely place to spend a snowy afternoon. And Jess, you're thinking pink today. Tell us more.
I do like to thematically dress. I think you guys know that. And there's something about being inside with all these bright colors on a really snowy day that kind of brightens your mood a little bit. And we are here at the Leslie Grove Gallery. Beautiful spot here in the East End. So if you didn't already know about it, you should come on down. And I'm joined by Lisa. You're kind of chair of the Artist Network that helps to run the gallery. But talk to me about Think Pink, because you guys do this every January. There's a different color theme. Obviously, this one is pink. But why the different color themes?
Well, every January, we know it's going to be snowy and gray and dreary. So we choose a different color every year. It's our annual color show. We've done Hello Yellow and Seeing Green and Out of the Blue. And this year, by committee decision, we decided to go with Think Pink. And it's just been an amazing show. We've gotten a super response. And you can see coming in from the snow, it just like lifts you up when you come in. It's so bright.
It is so bright. And it features art by local artists, some really early on in their career, some that have been well established. Why have that mix of different people? Because sometimes you think maybe, okay, I'm newer into the art scene, I could never have my work on display, but this really does encompass a wide range of different local Canadian Toronto talent.
Exactly, you said it. Our members, we have 250 members in the Artist Network, all local Toronto artists, and they range from emerging artists that are just starting out for the last few months to artists who've been painting professionally for over 25 years. So this is such a cool mix of art to see all in one place.
Now, how do you kind of pick, I know there's tons of submissions, and we have roughly 50, 60 pieces in here, but how do you pick out of all of those submissions you had, what was it, over 100?
Actually, over 100 artists submitted about 3 pieces each, so we looked at over 300 pieces to come down to this 54 pieces. It was a very difficult task to go through it all.
And I know, obviously, as an artist, it's hard to have, you know, your work kind of on display.
Yes.
It is for sale, but there's a really cool split when it comes to what the artists get out of this.
Yes, well, we really want to give the artists an opportunity to show and sell their art. So it's all for sale, and this is what they're working all year towards, like to get into group shows. They can also rent the gallery for themselves to do a solo show, which is a super opportunity.
So how long is this on for, and how can people find out about you?
Well, we're at artistnetwork.ca, and we're here in the Leslie Grove Park in our little gallery. The show is on from Wednesday till Sunday. We're open every day from 12 till 5. And then this show will come down, and will be a new one next week, but you got to come see this one. It's fantastic, and it's online too.
Online, and my favorite price, and that is for free. Lisa, thank you so much. It goes right through till Sunday. So much bright color in here. Come on in, brighten things up. We're going to have more news and weather after the break.
Our discussion on mental health continues this hour. It is Bell Let's Talk Day, and one of the powerful voices in the conversation is CTV National News correspondent Paul Hollingsworth, who has a very personal story. Paul joins us live from Halifax this afternoon. So nice to see you once again. Paul, you were a university student back in the early 1990s when your brother Bryce died. So first of all, maybe you could tell us a bit about your brother and your relationship and what he meant to you.
Well, good day to you, and thank you for having me on the show. Any day I can talk about Bryce, it's a good day. I mean that sincerely. He's with me every day. I walk with him every day. I talk to him every day. I try to make him proud of me every day. But I also never lose sight of the role that he played in my life and the story that he represents in my life. He was my big brother, 3 years older than me. We shared bunk beds, shared a bedroom. We played sports together. We actually had similar friendship groups that overlapped. And his life changed a little bit. He started to, his personality started to alter. He became a darker version of the person that I knew. He would withdraw from friendships. And then when he got into his early 20s, he sort of went down the path of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And on the week before Christmas, December 16th, 1991, I was in the middle of Christmas exams at St. Mary's University, and he took his life. I found him on a Monday morning at his apartment, and it's one of those moments that, you know, I cried my last tears for this many decades ago, but the emotion I feel for him and the presence he has in my life is arguably stronger than it ever has been before. I can tell you, starting with that moment in 1991, one of the most meaningful relationships, if not the most meaningful relationship I have in my life, is with a person I haven't seen in 35 years. So he's with me each day, especially on a day like today, Belle Let's Talk Day.
And certainly it's hard to hear about it, but I can imagine it's not easy to open up on this front. A couple of years ago, you wrote a very powerful piece about Bryce's story, and you said you wished you had talked to him about mental health back when you were 21. Can you walk us through what you wish you had addressed and how you wished you might have said it?
Oh, I could write a book about what I wish on that subject. I mean, look, we don't know each other well. If I have a failing in my life, is that I'm sensitive. One of my strengths is that I'm sensitive. So being sensitive can get you in a bit of trouble and a bit of turmoil inside. So I've been very hard on myself in the past that I didn't identify what was going on in his life. And in hindsight, I've accused myself of not being my brother's keeper. Now, to be reasonable, back in the 1990s, early 1990s, we didn't talk about mental health like we do today. So I'd love to go back in time and have a revisionist version of myself who could address these things, but that's not possible. What I've learned is that I should have talked to him. I should have been aware of the warning signs. I should have engaged more into his life. I should have reminded him how important it was for him to be a part of my story and for me to be a part of his story. He was my best friend. He was the most important male influence I've ever had in my life. And he's gone. He's 25 years old forever. So what do I take from that? I take the fact that everything I didn't do 35 years ago, I try to do now in my community, in my friendship groups, in my professional work environment, every single day. If I have one singular mission, it's to leave my province and my country a little bit better than the way I found it when it comes to these matters, because I want to make up for what happened 35 years ago, and who knows, maybe spare another Bryce Hollingsworth in our community from a similar fate, and maybe share a family like our family, that kind of grief that they could go through.
Oh, well, Paul, no doubt people watching out there, someone watching out there is struggling. We know what the stats are, and I'm sure your story resonates. Thanks so much for being with us today. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's good to see you again, and have a great day.
I'm glad you're well. Thank you. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth joining us from Halifax. And by the way, Paul started a scholarship at St. Mary's University in Halifax in honor of his brother Bryce. For those who have lost a sibling or a parent, if you are in crisis, please go to the closest hospital or call 911. If you're thinking about suicide, Canada has a great resource. You can call or text 988 toll-free anytime.
The executive director of the Canadian Association for Suicide Prevention wants to see a national strategy to reduce the numbers.
75% of all suicide deaths in Canada are men, and we know that men use a more lethal means than women. And so despite this, you know, Canada is one of the only OECD countries in the world without a comprehensive national suicide prevention strategy, and our organization is calling on Ottawa to roll out a national suicide prevention strategy so that we can get these numbers down.
CB24 spoke with Aaron Anderson from the Kids Help Phone Foundation about their service and how it's evolved over the years.
We need to keep up with technology, we need to keep up with youth, and so we need to continually evolve to be able to do that effectively. We still do phone-based counseling 24/7. Now we offer that service in more than 100 different languages, for example, and so that reflects the way that we transform our services over time. Nowadays, we're serving youth about just under 4 million times a year, which is drastically more than when we started about 36 years ago. And that's part of us adding to our service continuum with different options for young people so that they have some agency in the way that they choose to be supported.
Psychologist Dr. Natasha Williams says some new Canadians can face barriers to getting help.
What we want to look at is how do we look for an individual, somebody that you feel safe with as an initial starting point, because you don't want to, have a whole family meeting and then feel like you're going to be berated. So having a single person as a safe space, as a contact point, is usually the first place that you would want to go to. And then on top of that, when you want to actually express yourself, you don't have to use diagnostic language or anything like that. Speak about how you're feeling and how what your felt sense is. And I think is going to be a good starting point to help the conversation along.
And a reminder, on this Bell Let's Talk Day, you can access a Let's Talk toolkit and conversation guides at bell.ca/Let's Talk. We got more news after the break. Stay with us. Emmanuel Quickly was the hero for the Raptors last night.
Here's Quickly, ties his career high. He's got a 40-piece.
He poured in 40 points, tying his career high, and added 10 assists as Toronto downed the Golden State Warriors 145-127. Scotty Barnes came close to a triple-double with 26 points, 7 boards, and 11 assists. The Raptors are back in action tonight, taking on the Kings in Sacramento. Tip-off is just after 10 p.m.
At the Australian Open, Richmond Hill's Denis Shapovalov will be looking to win his second-round men's singles match tonight. The 21st ranked Canadian advanced with a 6-3, 7-6, 6-1 win in his opening match at the Grand Slam tennis tournament in Melbourne Monday. Tonight, he'll take on Marin Cilic of Croatia. Shapovalov is the only Canadian remaining in men's singles. And Victoria Mboko is through to the third round of the Australian Open. She defeated American Katie McNally in straight sets. Mboko will face Denmark's Clara Tauson tomorrow.
Austin Matthews, goal line. Matthew now to the slot.
And the Leafs host the Detroit Red Wings tonight. Toronto's coming off a 6-3 loss to the Minnesota Wild on Monday. The Red Wings are 2 points back of the Atlantic Division leading Tampa Bay Lightning and 8 points ahead of the Leafs. Game time is at 7 tonight. Toronto has 8 games left before the 3-week Olympic break. And Leafs goalie Anthony Stolarz appears to be inching closer to a return after missing more than 2 months with an injury. The team announcing Stolarz has been assigned to the Marlies on a conditioning loan. The 31-year-old has been out since November 11th with a nerve injury. Now, he's made 12 appearances this season, posting a 3.51 goals against average.
The New York Mets will hold a news conference today to introduce Bo Bichette after the former Blue Jay finalized his contract with the club. Bichette's deal with the Mets is for 3 years and worth $126 million. The 27-year-old spent 7 seasons in Toronto, where he recorded a .294 batting average, 111 home runs, and 437 RBI over 748 games. He's also a 2-time All-Star. Bichette has spent most of his career at shortstop, but is set to move to third base in New York, where he has never played a professional game. Short break, more when we return, and it is getting snowier out there.
The CN Tower is marking a major milestone anniversary.
The iconic landmark has now been a symbol of Toronto and defined its skyline for 50 years. The anniversary comes as the CN Tower marks the end of major renovation work. Mayor Olivia Chow and Federal Culture Minister Mark Miller cut the ribbon as the newly restored lower observation level welcomed visitors back. The $21 million in upgrades include a new glass floor and state-of-the-art interactive video walls.
50 years young and still defining our skyline. For 3 decades, the CN Tower was the world's tallest freestanding structure, but it's never been just about height. It's about what this tower represents: Canadian innovation, ambition, and the audacity to reach higher.
It's why that $21 million investment is key, not only to making sure this tower survives another 50 years, but does it in a way that really shows off who we are as a country, who we are as a people, and what Toronto brings to that story.
Almost 2 million people visited the CN Tower last year alone. But if you're looking at that observation deck this hour, probably seeing a whole lot of snow.
Yeah, just a blurry shot today from that distance. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, Michelle. Yeah, it is still snowing out here, and it's a little bit tricky to do any measurements at this time because, again, I'm standing where there was so much snow already from the previous snowstorms, but I can tell you that this snow is accumulating quickly, and we're expecting it to continue to do so for at least the next couple of hours. One more look there at the satellite and radar. We will start to see improvements for the second half of the afternoon and into the evening hours. The snow will taper off. Through the night tonight, those snow squalls are going to persist for areas mainly north of here. The big story going forward, Nathan and Michelle, once we get past this snow, is the return to the cold, especially into this weekend. We're going to talk about the potential for record cold tonight at CTV News 5 and 6. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.